at France for its stance on the ICC arrest warrant issued for Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the country's former defense minister. Paris has fine-tuned its position, saying that Netanyahu would not be arrested if he were to visit, given that Israel is not a member of the ICC and that he would be protected by immunity. The European Director of Human Rights Watch, meanwhile, has criticized that reasoning, calling it nonsense. For more on this story, we can bring in our French politics editor, Marc Perelman. Marc, good afternoon. What exactly is France saying here?
Well, first of all, it took 6 days for France to issue an official statement through the foreign ministry because we saw different countries take a stance on the issue of the arrest warrants, whether they would implement it and arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he was to set foot on their soil. Most European countries have said they would do so, except for Germany, for, I guess, obvious historical reasons. And across the Atlantic, the U.S. has said no, but the U.S. is not party to the ICC. So that solves the issue for Washington in one way. It took a lot of time, and Paris came out with the statement yesterday where France says, I'll quote from it, France will comply with its international obligation and the Rome Statute, the one that created the ICC, demands full cooperation with the ICC. However, this text also stipulates that a state cannot be required to act inconsistently, with its obligation with respect to the immunities of state not party to the ICC. This is legalese, of course, but this means that France respects the ICC, but also that there should be an immunity for the heads of state and government, i.e. for Benjamin Netanyahu. So France is saying, in essence, not as bluntly as one could say it, that if Benjamin Netanyahu was to travel to France, he would benefit from such immunity and hence would not be arrested. Obviously, this is not so much about international law. This is about realpolitik, and this has to do much more with what's happening in Lebanon than what's happening in Gaza, because Israel has really hesitated to allow France to be part of a monitoring mechanism with the United States and the Lebanese government to see if the ceasefire would be implemented. And Benjamin Netanyahu essentially made it a condition. If France wants to be part of this, I don't want the ICC arrest warrants to be implemented against me.
You mentioned that it took France 6 days to get to this position. I use the word fine-tuning. A lot of people, rights groups in particular, are accusing France of being hypocritical here.
Clearly, I mean, in terms of pure international law, this goes against the letter and even the spirit of the International Criminal Court. And you just have to look at other arrest warrants issue against Vladimir Putin. France supported the issuance of the warrant against the Russian president, despite the fact that Russia is also not part of the ICC, just like Israel. And when Vladimir Putin traveled to Mongolia back in September, the International Criminal Court, said, Mongolia, you are part of the ICC. You should arrest Vladimir Putin. When the authorities there didn't do it, the ICC complained about it. And who else complained about it? France. And so clearly we're seeing double standards, if you wish, and this is why rights groups are up in arms. But obviously the French are saying we need to make sure diplomacy works, and this could hurt the prospects of a ceasefire in Lebanon. So if it means that we don't fully respect the ICC, so be it.
Marc, thank you very much for that. Marc Perelman there.